Hello, my name's Dr. David Chudwin, and I'm pleased to talk to you today about my new book called The Magical Decade. I was born at the right time in 1950 and at the right place in mid-century America to experience what I call the magical decade. I present a popular history and memoir of the years 1965 through 75, when I was privileged to be eyewitness to political, technological, and cultural events which revolutionized American society then and still reverberate today. In this, the first of 4 videos, I want to describe how the music culture of the 1960s was changed by the British invasion. In the early 1960s, homegrown performers such as Elvis Presley and the Beach Boys dominated the airwaves. Teenagers like me listened to music on portable AM transistor radios and on vinyl discs played on analog record players. Radio stations sought teenage and adult young listeners, and the more of them the more they could charge advertisers for 30 or 60-second advertising spots. The British invasion was led by the Beatles. The English pop musical group was founded in 1960 with John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison at the core. Drummer Ringo Starr was added in 1962. Their early hits were simple 3-chord songs aimed primarily at teenage girls. They had their first hit song, Love Me Do, at the end of 1962. Their 1963 number 1 hit, She Loves You, sold over 1 million copies. By the time they first visited the U.S. in February 1964 and appeared on the Ed Sullivan television show, Beatlemania had swept the world with a string of number 1 hits. The Beatles held a live concert at the Chicago Comiskey Park Baseball Stadium on August 20th, 1965, and I was there. Tickets sold out immediately. My uncle Mike Victor was in the music business. Through his connections, he was able to get 4 tickets to the upcoming concert for his 2 sons and for me and my younger brother. I had just turned 15 years old. I couldn't believe it. I had one of the hottest tickets in America. I was going to hear the Beatles live. We drove to Comiskey Park and parked in one of the large concrete lots, and then climbed the long ramps to the upper deck, getting there about an hour before the 3 p.m. performance. The stadium steadily filled up until there was a crowd of over 25,000 people. There were people of all ages, but a majority of the attendees seemed to be teenage girls who were truly fanatic Beatles fans. There were 3 brief opening acts before the Beatles arrived with the Chicago police motorcade escort. There were more police surrounding the perimeter inside the baseball stadium to prevent fans from rushing the field. The Beatles ran to the stage located in the middle of the stadium to the rapturous screams of thousands of young teenage girls and the enthusiastic applause from the rest of us. The set list for the performance started with Twist and Shout and ended with Help and I'm Down. The concert was thrilling to me. Both the band and the audience had a great time. I felt lucky to be there. The Beatles were the vanguard of the British invasion, bringing their upbeat melodies and lyrics across the pond to America. The Beatles remained the number 1 band in the world with 17 number 1 hits. Each new Beatles album was awaited with great anticipation, with fans even camping overnight outside record stores to be the first to purchase the new vinyl records. The Beatles progressed from simple 3-chord songs to musically complex songs, augmented with masterful mixing by their producer, George Martin. They pioneered multi-track recording, use of classical instruments, addition of Indian Asian music, backward tracks, and themed albums. Of course, the Beatles were only part of the British invasion. In 1965, when I was 15, my family moved from Chicago to the suburbs where I attended high school. Sock hops were an important part of the high school social scene. These were dances in the school gymnasium. No shoes were allowed so as not to damage the wooden basketball floor, and everybody walked around in their socks, hence the name. My memories of the British invasion are indelibly linked to memories of these sock hops. Eric Burdon and the Animals singing House of the Rising Sun, the Kinks performing All Day and All of the Night, the Who's My Generation, the Hollies Bus Stop, and last but not least, the Rolling Stones belting out Street Fighting Man and Satisfaction. The magical decade also marked the debut of other influential British rockers, including Elton John and the band Queen. These songs from the magical decade are the soundtrack of my life. They elicit deep nostalgia and even flashbacks to the time more than half a century ago when I was young. Stay tuned for upcoming videos concerning other experiences I had during the magical decade, including seeing the first moon launch and being saved from an arrest by a dinosaur in Washington, D.C.